Hey guys, this is the Boys in Motion podcast, episode 5. Here, Tyler, with my nice co host, Bryan and Andrew. Today, we're talking about 5 benefits of endurance training. Let's get to it. What are we doing today, boys?
So, today we've got an exciting episode. Essentially, what we're going to cover is the key health benefits of endurance training, kind of an explanation on why everybody should be training, why you should start training if you're not currently training, and just sort of laying out and breaking down those top 5 buckets of why we love training so much.
Yeah, definitely. I think all three of us get this question quite a lot. We spend a lot of time doing different endurance sports. We spend our weekends, and they're like, "Why do you spend so much time doing this? It seems hard. Like, what are you getting out of this thing?" So I think one of the big things is that it helps improve our cardiovascular health. There's a study from the Mayo Clinic with a recommendation for getting moving and getting into endurance where they recommend that you aim for at least 30 to 60 minutes of activity daily. So that just means getting out, doing something active, such as endurance sports. And this can really help to lower your chance of getting conditions that may put a strain on your heart. And this includes high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. So overall, just getting out, moving, and this can be from walking, skipping rope, going for a run, biking, swimming, any other activities you might like, going to play pickleball. It has lots of benefits for your heart health. So that's always good for a nice, long, healthy life while having some fun.
Training like we train would not be something we'd be interested in if it wasn't also good for us. And so just the fact that it is a net beneficial activity in your life is something that, we want to promote. We want to help people get into exercise, especially if you're not somebody who's been active or isn't active currently. It's really important that you start slowly as you work your way up to the goal of having, an hour run or an hour walk. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody's at that level, but it's not something that people should shy away from because daily activity is just so important for your health. And so, what we're really focusing on here is a beneficial activity that we want to help support people so that they actually go out and start to progress, see some progress in their cardiovascular system. And at the same time, we're going to go through some other benefits. But number one is just the fact that you will become a healthier person if you approach this the right way.
And that's a big key, like you said, the right way. Like you can't just go out randomly, spend 3 hours on a bike or running because you'll just go out there and actually potentially hurt yourself, right? So like you said, ramping it up nice and slow, start with 15-20 minute walk, then Andrew's favorite sport, pickleball. You could play a couple rounds of pickleball or go do something that you like doing, and then you start ramping it up slowly from there. So you start slow and you go nice and easy to avoid also getting hurt in the meantime.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we are all three of us very big fans of Zone 2 training. So whatever you want to do that is your Zone 2 training, I say get out and do it on a regular basis. For me, when I started marathon training, I was getting a lot of injuries, and it was really my body telling me to slow down. And I actually started getting back into it following something called the Maffetone method, where it's essentially a training method where you do 180 minus your age, and you keep all of your runs at that heart rate. So I was doing that, and then at the time I was doing that. It was very hot. My running fitness wasn't very good, and I was doing about 12-minute miles to try to keep my heart rate in that zone. It was about at the time. And then over the years, I've really seen that keeping that same heart rate zone, my mile my miles have just been, I went from 12-minute miles to 10-minute miles. Now I'm at 830 miles on those recovery runs. So you can really see a pretty quick reduction in that resting heart rate. And I think that's pretty cool to see, especially at that zone that is super sustainable and not super hard on my body.
Injuries are one thing when we talk about getting into sport and starting to actually push into more moderate aerobic exercise, kind of beyond walking at a brisk pace. And the other thing that I hear a lot from beginners in cycling and also in running is that every workout hurts and it sucks. And that is simply because they're not running in that sustainable zone 2 heart rate zone, but they're actually pushing far beyond that as they begin. And I just think that's a tough way to approach building the habit of exercising, because you're putting yourself through so much unneeded strain that isn't as productive as slowing it down, approaching it with a little bit more of a scientific approach, and really being strict on yourself and comfortable with the fact that you need to go slower in order to get faster.
You took that right out of my mouth, Brian. That's exactly what I was going to say.
So, in terms of what the Mayo Clinic recommends from, let's say, somebody that is training, is about 150 minutes a week of moderate aerobic exercise. So this could be walking at a brisk pace. In addition, 75 minutes a week of vigorous aerobic activity. That's something like running. And then also mixing in some strength training. And that gives you a really 360 approach of heart health when it comes to the activities that you need to do to support your cardiovascular system. But of course, if you can't meet those kind of suggested times, anything is better than nothing. So even if you just have 5 minutes of movement a day, it's better than doing nothing at all. So anybody can start training. And even if you're not comfortable with that, simply doing household activities that are a little bit more strenuous, like gardening, housekeeping, taking the stairs when you have the option, those are also kind of like micro exercise moments that you can build into your life that will sort of keep you moving up those steps as you want to increase your cardiovascular health.
Yeah, and then I think on top of the endurance exercise, just exercise in general is great for our heart health. I think another large benefit is for your mental health. I think especially, I know during a few years ago during COVID, the one big benefit of still being able to run and get outside, it was just getting out, moving my body, helping, reduce the stress of what was going on. And now I really enjoy, for me, I love running after work, so in the evenings, and I find it's a great way to break up my day. I've finished my work. I've done things. I've done a bunch of things throughout the day, and then I'm able to break up my day and kind of just let go and just stop thinking about work for about an hour throughout my day. And I find that's a really great way to just kind of allow my mind to just stop thinking about the stresses of life and just enjoy the run, enjoy the outdoors, and just take it all in. So that's one really big benefit that I find for exercise.
I'm the same way. Just big de-stressor. You have a tough day either at work or wherever, and you just get out there, you get on your bike or you start running, and you kind of forget about everything for the 90 to 60 minutes that you're out there for. So it's I think that's a big thing. I think part of all of our lives is just the mental relief that it gives you. Kind of it's nothing can compare to what you feel after you're done a nice session, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you hear the coined phrase of the runner's high, and it's not just running that gives you that, but there's a huge release of endorphins when you're exercising, after exercise. It just makes you feel good. In addition to that overall improvement in mood that you get from exercise, there's also a confidence that comes with seeing yourself improve, which I think is just as valuable. Setting goals, achieving them when it comes to any facet of life is important. And that's something that is accessible to everybody through exercise, because if you set reasonable targets and you work on them, you can just tackle milestone after milestone. And it's a really, really great way to motivate yourself to keep going in your training, Tyler, I know you were talking, I think it was during our triathlon podcast, about the way you progressed in the sport. And I'm sure part of that really boosted your confidence.
Oh yeah, for sure. It boosts your confidence, and it kind of gets you like hungry to do more and to beat your past milestones, and you just keep setting goals. I've had a good saying from a mentor of mine: goals set are goals met. So you just got to keep working towards those goals that you set, and you put them on paper, and you meet them. And once you meet them, you scratch that out, and you have a new goal. So I find that kind of gets you get looped into that feeling of feeling good, and you just keep rolling with it. So it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and just to roll on that point, as you build that confidence, you're feeling so good. A nice benefit of that is that you're increasing your stamina and endurance through all of this exercise. So as you're stacking all of this exercise on top of each other, no matter what it is, your body will adapt to those physical demands. And that movement that you're doing on a daily basis becomes the new normal. So that what a year ago, some workouts felt awful, they were so hard. Today, they will feel very manageable, and you're wanting to push further to get faster, to improve, to get stronger. So you're always kind of pushing, and the what you considered normal is always changing with increasing your exercise.
Totally. And on this third point of stamina and endurance, I've always said this is the body adapts so quickly to the way you treat it. And if you're doing hard things, if you're pushing yourself in sport, your body will so quickly adapt. It's one of the things that the body is greatest at. But this also works in the negative direction as well. So if you are sitting on the couch, over consuming calories, having bad habits in general, it's a slippery slope because your body will become that very, very quickly. You slingshot in whichever direction you're pushing, and there's a lot of momentum with that. So the moment you start training and you start, biting a little bit more as you train, your body is going to adapt so quickly and actually start to crave that increase in stamina and endurance. And by doing so, you will just be a more performant person in life. You will enhance your performance in sport and the daily activities you do over the lifetime. And I think that's really important for those that are, increasing in age, especially because this is a more important factor when you become older and older and you start losing muscle mass and losing strength and getting limited mobility. That's an even more important piece of why training matters, is to counteract your body's aging.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I just want to put one point on that. I think the name of the game is definitely consistency, especially when you're getting into it. If you are getting into any type of exercise, don't burn yourself out. Don't try to do those crazy hard exercises that are making you feel absolutely awful the next day. Tackle small chunks, manageable chunks, so that you can build a consistent routine and make it a lifestyle. That's the most important thing to have longevity in whatever you're doing.
Exactly. And what really worked for me when I started running, because running always seemed very difficult for me, even when I was doing other sports. And what really helped was actually building the habit of going out for a run, even if I went out for 2 or 3 kilometers. When I first started, it was the act of going out for a run. I tried to never miss 2 days in a row. I learned this rule through a YouTube video, so that consistency just really built as a muscle. And then I just had the discipline to continue, and then my body just craved going a little bit longer every time.
I tell people who are just starting or are asking for advice, I think the hardest thing is to start, and then once you start, you get into that routine and that consistency, and it just keeps building, and it's a snowball that just keeps getting bigger.
For sure. Now, the fourth point that we have highlighted here is weight management and muscle tone. So I think this is a big thing that comes with exercise, is people want to do it to look better, but I think it's also about feeling better. And with endurance sport, you're burning a ton of calories when you're training. And so it also aids in weight maintenance and weight loss for sure. But I think this is something that we need to be a little bit careful with. You don't want to approach exercise with the goal of just becoming skinny or losing weight. You want to take the approach of approaching exercise as a manner to improve your overall health, and a byproduct of that is building lean muscle mass and actually changing your body composition gradually over time as it optimizes to the exercise that you do, rather than just going starving yourself on runs, hurting yourself because your body is underfueled.
As far as injuries, I've been through that where you're pushing your body too much and you're just pushing past that point where you should be going. Your body has certain limits, and if you're pushing past that point, you're kind of always on that risk of injury. So it's definitely listen to your body as you're doing any type of exercise, because it is the best feedback loop. It kind of tells you there's a good kind of muscle soreness when you're doing exercise, but there's a point that it is telling you to slow down, to pull it back. And if you go past that point, it can get worse. And then unfortunately, you'll have to take time off and you lose a lot of your gains, and then getting back into it is hard. So always listen to your body. We have limits, and just a slow, gradual progression into whatever you're doing is definitely the healthiest way to approach it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, on that point, that's kind of how I started. Was I wanted to lose weight, and then I realized that it wasn't really. I guess it's a byproduct of your training, and the if you're doing it correctly, it comes with it. So you got to balance your nutrition and your training properly, because like Brian mentioned at first, you can't just starve yourself and go for a run or lift weights and hope that you're gonna perform better. You're actually gonna do worse things to your body. I did start by saying, hey, you know what? I want to lose 20 pounds. And then I ended up having to actually eat more rather than starve myself to actually stay healthy. And in the end, I did end up losing weight, but not more as a byproduct and not really the main focus. The main focus was more to perform in what I was trying to do. So it's a cool shift I find in the mindset as well.
The last point on weight management is the last place you want to be trying to lose weight is when you're actively working out. The problem is that if you're underfueled going into a workout, or you're trying to restrain calories while you're working out, it can be detrimental to the exercise and how you perform and the impacts of your recovery as well. We have seen many people on the bike not consume enough calories and actually end up bonking. We're going to talk about Adam, I'm sure, for the BIM bike ride, but a little bit of a bonk on day two, or
Not
sorry,
the
on day
bonk.
one. And it's important that you consume calories if you're working out for an extended period of time. You're not going to lose more weight because you underfuel during a ride or a run, but you can just completely wreck your day and really be in the pain cave for no reason other than you chose not to eat.
It's a very fine line, and yeah, do not recommend. Do not recommend.
And that brings us to the last point of the benefits of endurance. And I think we saved the best for last. It's really about the people you do these things with, the friends you make doing it, and just being a part of that group. Whether you have that opportunity to join a club in your area, go out and meet a bunch of people, like-minded people that like doing things you like doing, making new friends, making connections. I think this is really one of the main main reasons, I think, at least for me, why I do it. It's a great way to make new friends, to see existing friends in a super healthy way, just going out on a weekend doing a really healthy thing where you have a little bit of pain and you bond over that pain, and then you make just great memories from those adventures. And we'll chat a little bit in a little bit about something we did this past weekend that I think fits this quite well.
Yeah, for sure. And anybody listening, you're a part of the Boys in Motion, And that's what we're trying to build here, is exactly that community. We want to foster new friendships and really a sense of belonging, right? If you are interested in sport, if you want to begin training, if you're already training, this is the place for you to kind of expand that part of your identity. And it's something that we're all passionate about. I know for myself personally, sport has been great to me throughout my whole life. But if I really had to choose a moment in recent times where it was just so beneficial, was actually my move to a new city, where I re-met Tyler and we went for a run on my first day visiting Ottawa for that first time, even prior to moving there. And we set the goal of running the Ottawa half marathon. And ever since that, we've been training together, chatting together, and have really built a strong friendship. And that's something that sports provided.
Reconnected, and I hooked you in and I got you. So that's where we got back together. That's for sure. Get the band back together. It was you moved. I think wasn't it the weekend you moved back into the city? You ran that race, and then the rest is history. That's
That's it. My back was a little bit sore from, moving everything into my apartment. But
solo.
the next
I did not help because I didn't want to wreck my back.
Exactly. But the next day after I moved, we ran the Ottawa half together, and it was very, very fun. And
Yeah.
ever since, we've had a shared purpose that has continued to drive our performance. And now look what we're doing. Boys in motion, right? It's pretty
Inception,
cool.
baby. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the name of the game right there is social connections. That's what I live for. So it's great.
Exactly. And then even Andrew and myself, like, we spent all of high school rowing together, and that'll be kind of a lifelong connection that was also forged through sport, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think most of the people that I'm closest with now is through some sort of activity or sport. A lot of my oldest friendships are from sport, so it's a pretty a touch of pain and suffering is a very special place to bond really really good friendships. So yeah, it's awesome.
It really is. So let's wrap these main talking points up just by going through them once again. So we talked about the 5 benefits of endurance training. The first was improving your cardiovascular health. The second was enhancing your mental health. Next, number 3, we looked at increased stamina and endurance. Number 4, we talked about weight management and muscle tone. And then number 5, which we love so much, is that social connection and community. The Boys in Motion are doing it. If you're looking for a community, feel free to join our Strava. The link is down below. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, it's always in the show notes.
Love it. Now my favorite time.
It's Hot
Chat
Take
time.
Tuesday. Let's go.
Hot Take Tuesday. Holy.
So, Tyler, do you have anything for us?
I'm not alone by saying I want to know some info on the challenge here. I want some answers and what's the plan? What can the viewers be looking forward to this week?
As many of you will know who are listening, in the last podcast, we actually kind of launched a running challenge that was aimed directly at me. And the premise of this was, from the time that podcast was released till the following Friday, the number of net new followers that we got across all of our platforms, so that was Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I needed to run that many kilometers this week. And so we ended up with 93 new followers and subscribers across those platforms, which means that I am in currently the biggest week of running in my life. And I ran already today. We're recording on Monday. So by the time this comes out, hopefully I've run Monday and Tuesday. But yeah, so I'm tackling 93 kilometers total, and I've kind of got a little bit of a schedule that I'd love to share with you guys.
How do you
Yeah,
feel?
let's hear it.
Pretty much everything is going to be focused around zone 2 easy runs, just because it's so much mileage, and I didn't actually build up to this. I think I ran 11K last week just because we had that big BIM ride, so the legs are already sore from a lot of cycling this weekend. And in my run today, my thighs felt like bricks. So it's going to be important to kind of pace myself through the week. But Monday, 11 kilometers. I had planned for 10. On Tuesday, it will be 22, 23 kilometers. Wednesday, I'm going to do a short recovery run. It'll be about 5K. Thursday, another 10K there. Friday, I'll kind of peel it back a little bit and we'll just do a quick little 8K. And then Saturday, 12K. Sunday, the longest run of the week at 25K. That's 93 total. I hope to just hit it on target. And I'm excited. I'm running every single day. I originally thought I'd do a rest day on Wednesday, but I don't think that's happening anymore. I think it's best that I just kind of move a little bit each day so that I don't have kind of that delayed onset muscle soreness from taking a rest day.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see how the body's gonna feel and how you're gonna push through this. I don't think you're gonna have trouble getting through it. It's just gonna be fun to see how you get there. That's all. You're gonna be a freak, that's for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of high mileage weeks, what is the highest mileage that either of you have done in a week?
I think for me, highest has been, I normally peak at around 125 or 130 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I will use
freaky.
kilometers so that we can do apples to apples here.
Oh, that's
Um,
freaky. I think I've only gotten to 75, so max. I add
too
different
many.
activities in there, but too can't do too many miles, that's for sure. Legs are busted after like 60. Like I can't believe it.
Well, I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out. My shins are busted every block, so it's a yeah, yeah. It's a do as I say, not as I do situation.
Very true.
For most of the runs, I'm going to post a little story. I'm working on one tonight for today's run that I did, and I'm just going to kind of, yeah, the first one is just really an intro, but I might focus on a few different topics like how to actually run in zone 2 and that sort of thing. But the funniest thing, and maybe this is actually the hot take of the week, is I went out for my run and within 1 kilometer of starting my run, it started raining and it was like pouring quite a bit actually, and then I had to continue on for like another 7K after it stopped raining, so it only did it for like kind of that first four. But I think, and I don't know why, I just happened to run faster in the rain, and I don't know why that is, but it was really really tough for me to kind of control my pace when the rain was coming down. Why do you think that is?
Just wanted to get out of the rain.
That's what
Just
I'm
trying to
thinking.
just trying to get the run done real quick so you can be out of the rain. That would be my guess.
That's what I'm thinking too. But maybe you just feel the raindrops and you just feel speedy. You get the zoomies like the dogs do, and you just go for it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like an instinctual like fight or flight because it's raining and you don't have shelter. Your body like increases adrenaline a little bit because I was going much faster during the rain and it felt easier than right when I was starting the workout. Mind you, it was also kind of that golden zone of like kilometer 2 to 5 when it was really coming down. So it was the easiest part of the run, we'll say, but I was 30 seconds a kilometer faster at the exact same heart rate. But maybe it's also the temperature drops a little bit when it's raining as well.
That's true. I'm gonna have to dig into that because I was on a ride like a couple weeks ago. We got caught in the rain and we were just zipping through. But maybe it's just because we were like you're saying, just the fight or flight. We're trying to get out of the rain and you're just zooming through. I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, another interesting thing about zooming, when you get stung by a bee, this has happened to a few of us now on rides, but I got stung by a bee and I was looking at my heart rate data on the bike, and within 20 to 30 seconds of getting stung by a bee, I didn't change my wattage, but my heart rate just peaked. Like it went up by 15 to 20 beats per minute immediately after getting stung, and then kind of gradually came down at the same watt output over the next like 10-15 minutes, which was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my heart rate would be going up too. I feel like that one makes a lot of sense. You get blasted, you're like, yeah, that is actually fight or flight. You're like, yeah,
Ow.
ow.
Yeah, Big Ow. And it
Big
was
ow.
wild because it didn't like hurt too much as it happened, but the moment I stopped cycling, then I really felt a lot of pain at that location
Where'd you
immediately
get
when
it?
I kind of got out of the bike, kind of upper thigh,
Oh,
right where the zoot suit would kind of squeeze against the goods.
oh, frig! I got one on the finger once, and it blew up the finger quite nicely, but yeah, never on the thigh. Those are the things you gotta take care of, the thighs.
Exactly. So somebody else got stung and it was on the weekend. So maybe we switch gears over to the BIM Boys in Motion annual bike event. I thought it was a success, but maybe we can do a little breakdown of what we did, what the logistics were, and yeah, some stories about the awesome time we had.
I was talking to people about it today at work. Best training weekend I've had. It was a lot of fun. Logistics wise, planning, down to the people. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. We had quite the fun time. The two day bike event. We did the 180 on day one. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Bryan. Fort Erie to Brantford.
Exactly. Yeah. So we ended up basically over the 2 days doing 360 kilometers. It was a little like slightly more on the first day, slightly less on the second. But yeah, our path was essentially Fort Erie area out to Brantford, and that was all along Lake Erie. And then from Brantford, we went up towards Hamilton, around Niagara on the Lake and Lake Ontario, but kind of stayed around the escarpment that whole time, not right on the lake, and then back down through Niagara Falls to Fort Erie again. A nice loop, a long loop, but a very, very fun loop. Andrew, what was your experience like?
I would just like to say I was not warned that we were going on gravel roads for this trip, and I didn't quite put on the right tires for the gravel roads.
The skinny
There was
man with
a
the skinny tires.
The 23 had a couple close calls on the gravel roads, is all I'm gonna say. Oof.
Yeah, and in my defense, because I am the one who planned the route, those were like stone chip roads that in a year would be just immaculate to ride on, and Google Maps had them as nice roads. So yeah, my mistake, but there was a tiny bit of gravel on each day. I would say maybe like 2 to 3K on back-to-back days, but even on the 25s, it was a little bit sketchy.
Well,
So I
what
can
is
only
that? That's
imagine.
under 1%. So we're fine.
Yeah. And sure, there was
Ah,
some washout on some other roads. We went down a few roads that had a no exit sign, but we were able to kind of match the route that we had planned. And yeah, over 99% of those roads were just immaculate for
oh
riding.
yeah.
Not a single mechanical issue for any of the group, not a single tire popped because we chose nice routes. We rode really well in a group in terms of communication and also in terms of drafting. We were super speedy, super efficient, and when there was a man who was hurting a little bit, we were quick to respond either by giving them a draft back to the pack or making sure that they consumed a few donuts when they were in the bonk zone.
The emergency donut. Emergency donut. We needed a couple of those for some of the boys, that's for sure.
Adam truly discovered the double bonk this past weekend. From bonking because he wasn't consuming any sugar, which I hope, Adam, if you're listening, next time please bring lots of sugar. And then we roll up. It was an optional stop. We see the grocery store. We were like, do we stop? Do we not stop? We decided to stop. And it was an amazing grocery store, really close to Brantford. And they had these delicious donuts. And Adam got two. And well, he
I
was
had to
heavily advised to buy two.
I basically had to force his hand to get two, but oh boy, did he enjoy those.
And yeah, we will be sharing this picture, but there is a glorious picture of Adam sitting on a Muskoka chair in all of his glory, just eat just eating up this cream donut. And he came back to life afterwards for a little bit. And then
Yeah,
then
until
came
the
the
next
double bonk. Yeah. So yeah, the power of the donut was a little too strong, so he just came out blasting out of the gate and then bonked again. But the power of the donut is there.
I think one learning for my end was initially when I planned all our stops, right? We were basically stopping. I tried to make it about once an hour, and I thought maybe this is a little bit much for stopping. But honestly, hydration wise, it was perfect because it was hot both days. I was slamming back easily 2 bottles an hour of water, one with an electrolyte mix, pool water, shout out, and then the other with just plain water. And it was definitely needed. And I think for the next rides that we do, we definitely need to plan those frequent stops. Of course, for hydration, it's important, but also having just a little bit of rest on the legs is important for maybe those that are not quite as strong as the top of the field that we rode with.
Yeah, that's me.
Top of the field,
One
top of the field.
No, 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 the opposite. One big thing that I liked about that I found nice with the stops on day two, I think we did it kind of different on day one and two, where day one, at about 50 kilometers, we had breakfast. And then I forget what lunch was, but it was like another two stops. So maybe at around 100, 110K. So there was food earlier on, where in day two, our first coffee stop wasn't until quite far into it. So we did coffee, baked goods, and then our next stop was actually lunch after that. And I think the having a bit more weighted to food and like forcing calories, sugar, salt later into the ride, I for me made my body feel better anyway. Where that is like where the day before I had a slight lull in my body where the day two, the body just it came together and I was feeling good.
Well, that's it. And one of I think some of the funnest stuff was the day two kind of segments, we'll call them, which were the two climbs that we ended up doing. They're not massive because we're in Niagara and Niagara's pretty flat, but going up the escarpment both times, there were like we let the peloton kind of break apart and go at their own speed. Those were super fun. And then also we had at the end some lead outs to some sprint segments and then actually sprinting a finish line. And I was so shocked at the power you had to lead us out, Andrew. Those last few pulls that you did were incredible. And based on the performance that you had in day one, it was night and day the power that you were pushing.
Agreed. That was maybe it was the veggie sub.
I mean, I was struggling with the veggie sub, but I don't know. It was just day two, we were definitely more consistent with our riding. There was like a few gaps in day one. The Peloton was getting excited and we would blast, and I'm looking a little bit at you, Tyler, where we would blast off the front. And for me, that I think on day one got to me, where like there was a lot of almost yo-yoing of our speed. And I think just not riding that much, my legs were like, "What the heck are you doing?" Where day two, we were we were a well-oiled machine and we were staying consistent, which my legs liked. They were much happier.
So let's go around quick. What was your favorite moment of the ride? We'll go round table and kind of wrap it up there.
Okay, I'll start, I guess. For me, it was you said it during the ride. It was the Champs-Élysées moment down in Niagara Falls, coming through the downtown and getting the mist down by the falls, and then going back through Chippewa. And I guess for that being my hometown, it was just like, you know that area like the back of your hand. You've been there since you were a kid, and just riding there after like 340K in the legs, it just felt like you're on a different planet. It was amazing. I think that was the one of the funnest moments for sure for me.
Yeah, I think the stop right before that, getting Dole Whip, getting that extra sugar, and then it was just before the Imperial Century. And at that point, I was just mega motivated to just be at the front to hit that 100 miles. And
Oh
I
yeah,
was
you
just
blasted through that. Yeah.
I was just trying to blast. I was like, the end is near. I can just get rid of all my energy. Just keep pulling, so that the big strong boys can sprint at the end. So that was definitely a highlight. I think number two for me would be the DQ climb. That was a lot of fun because you get the nice zoom on the way down. And then that climb, I told myself I'm just going to blast off right from the beginning. So I just tried to juice it as hard as I could, got out of the saddle, and that was a lot of fun. I like climbing. So it was
That was
another
nice.
Yeah.
fun moment.
And I thought that was really really cool, like the DQ climb, because I'm sitting there looking at my bike computer and I'm pushing like 400 watts trying to control the effort so that I can try to at least sustain something reasonable the whole time. And you come flying right past me. And I was like, either this guy has unlocked a new gear or I'm going to be catching him when he's in the pain cave, like 75% up this climb. It ended up being the latter, but I was so impressed at some of the pushes you guys were doing up those hills because, like you say, climbing is a really really great part and aspect of cycling. So yeah, it was just a great time all around. I think I have two highlights. I think day two was just magnificent. My highlight from day two was when I dropped the top cap to one of my goos, and Mark and I ended up stopping, and we just said to the rest of you guys, like, keep pounding away, we'll catch up. And Mark and I were sitting there for maybe 2 to 3 minutes before we actually found that cap. And 2 to 3 minutes gives you guys about, like, we were going fast that day. So it gave you guys about a kilometer and a half to
Oh
the point
yeah.
we couldn't even see you down the road. And Mark and I put in a beastly effort. We started with a really quick swap back and forth in the draft, and we were like just hammering the watts. And then once I sensed you guys were in reach, I just said, I'm going to pull Mark and I all the way. And I just smashed I looked at it on Strava. It was about 4 minutes at just over 300 watts, but the last like minute and a half was well over 350 watts, which to me kind of like outdid what I thought I was able to do. So it was really, really cool and a very, very fun push with Mark to just be beasting and trying to catch the peloton again.
That was impressive because yeah, I was on the back of that and I looked at you guys. You said just keep going. I said okay. I went to the front and I said, boys, they want us to keep going. So I pushed everybody else through, and then you guys still came up flying beside us like 5 minutes later. It was great.
Yeah, so that was really fun. And then on day one, I loved our route from basically Port Coburn all the way to Port Dover. We were along the lake the whole time. It was nice and flat. The spirits were high because everybody had the energy. It was just really, really beautiful riding. And we had this worry of, is there going to be too much wind? And it ended up being perfect.
Just an immaculate trip. Let me tell you, I can't wait for the next one. Let me just say that. Year three, I guess. BIM Bike Days year three. Stay tuned. We're gonna get even bigger peloton. Let's go.
I'm excited to see if we can draw out some more people. I've heard some rumblings of a few people in just the last week starting to either purchase bikes or going out on their first ride in a long time. So, if you're listening and you're interested, you've got a 1 year warning on the BIM bike ride. Everybody's invited, and we'll see you in the peloton.
1 year warranty, and we'll pull you through the peloton.
But just like Sil found out this year, there's no messing around. We're blasting. So if you want to be coming, we'll just be prepared because Bryan, this guy, he's going to be pulling.
That's fantastic. Well, this was a really, really fun pod. Keep an eye on our socials. We're on Spotify, of course, Apple Music, and YouTube. That's where we're posting the long form, but check us out on Instagram, also TikTok, and we've got the Strava Club Boys in Motion. We're going to be posting a lot of content from my running challenge, and I think Tyler's got some exciting stuff in store from the BIM bike ride that you might be posting. So looking forward to seeing that. Also, little disclaimer, of course, the boys here at the Boys in Motion are not scientists. We're not medical professionals, and any advice that we're given in the podcast is for entertainment purposes. But if you find a tidbit that you'd like to implement into your training or your life, please consult with a medical professional before doing so, just to make sure that it's the right thing for you.
And on that note, Boys in Motion out.